Hi, this is
Yes.
John Reed of JDOD.com. I'm really excited about this BYD SDK video I'm about to shoot with Vijayan. How you doing?
Hi, John. I'm fine. How are you doing? And I'm really very happy to see you here. And it's really looking forward for that. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, definitely. It's evening where you are in Bangalore. It's a very sunny morning here in Massachusetts, as you can see from the
Yeah.
video. And I'm really looking forward to this discussion because there's a lot of confusion and questions in the community around ByDesign, around the SDK in particular. And a lot of folks may not know, but you played a key role in this. So we're going to get into that shortly. So first, let's talk about your current company. You now work for ERP Logic. What is your role there?
Yeah. In ERP Logic, I am the general manager of India operations here. We started our operations in India. We came to know there is a lot of potential here for by design, and we have a lot of customer base here in India already we have. So we started our operation in India in April 2011, this month, 4 months back, and I am taking care of this entire operation. On top of that, I am also responsible for the ByD practice here in ERP Logic India.
Now, you have a very interesting history with ByDesign SDK. So tell us how this all began for you.
Well, it all started in 2008. I was actually involved in developing a web service connector. We call it as component service generator. Actually, I was working with SAP Labs, India, Bangalore for past 8 years. From 2003, since 2003 till 2011, till March 31st, I was working in SAP. There, I involved in this connector, this adapter to generate the web services. And for a partner to develop any add-on or any solution on top of ByDesign, web services is a very important part, and hence I got into this SDK development, into this ByDesign SDK development in 2008. End of 2008, I got into this.
Yeah, so with 3 years of experience with the SDK under your belt, want to talk with you about the scripting language that folks use to operate within the SDK and build functionality. One of the big things is how much ABAP experience, if any, is needed to work with the SDK.
Well, you will be surprised, and the entire SAP community will surprise if I say that we don't need any of the ABAP knowledge here for building any solution on top of ByD SDK. ByDesign SDK was purely we need only the .NET basis, like object-oriented concept basis, and knowing this .NET syntax. That's more than enough. Nobody needs even a single knowledge of ABAP here. No syntax, nothing.
And the Microsoft piece of it, how helpful is it to have some background in Microsoft.NET technologies?
I would say it's nice to have this Microsoft.NET technology here, but it's a basic object-oriented program and basic looping program. That's what is needed. This analytical thinking and basic knowledge is more than enough. But anybody is having this C# knowledge technology, that would be an added advantage to work in the SDK.
So the biggest thing really is that object-oriented thinking around programming concepts, and you can pick up the SDK fairly well if you have that background.
Yes, yes.
Now we're now on ByDesign 3.0. What are the SDK capabilities as of this release?
Well, the SDK actually started after starting of ByDesign, and it is also a maturing product. In FP 3.0, SAP wanted to target the last mile, that is enabling the partners to achieve the last miles to enable the customers to work on the ByDesign and to add any additional functionality needed. So they come up with the new functionality in FP 3.0 called one-off solution. It's not a generic solution available for all the customers, but for a specific customers, you can develop an one-off solution. That's a big and greatest advantage of SDK, which we can expect in FP 3.0. In addition to that, they came up with some new additional usability features in UI. It makes the life easier for the partners to do the transformations, to do the OBN navigation kind of things, moving from one UI to the another view kind of things. They made the life simpler for the partners who is developing the solution. These are all two major parts. In addition to that, starting FP 3.0, they started introducing the concept of public solution model and using usage of existing templates and existing dependent objects in SDK by the partners.
Right, and the scripting language has some powerful features. We've talked about the name of the scripting language, which seems to be changing, because I always called it the ByDesign scripting language, and you call it, I think, ABSL.
Yes.
So you're probably right, and I'm probably wrong. Are there any current limitations to the scripting language? Are there improvements that are needed at this time?
Well, I can't say there is currently any limitation in the scripting language because, as I said, along with the product, the SDK is also maturing. I would say any partner, whoever is using this SDK to develop any add-on application, would like for any additional features in the scripting language. When compared to FP2.6 version of SDK and FP3.0 version of SDK, I can see there are little more improvements in the scripting language, which helps the partners let's say to model or an action or event trigger in a consolidated way across the nodes in a business object, to be technically talking. So such kind of improvements, which is always welcome, which SAP is also targeting for each version.
Now, one of the things about the SDK is that there's a range of options for a developer partner in the kinds of applications that can be built, from more simple mashups to more elaborate industry solutions. What in your mind is the right approach right now for partners when thinking about SDK development?
Okay, so any partner who thinks about this SDK to develop any product, I would say that depends on the customer, what they have. It could be a simple mashup, as you said, but any add-on solutions, finding the gap in existing by design and filling that would be the right target approach for any partners to go ahead in their market.
One of the things that intrigued me earlier is you talked about these one-off solutions, because I was thinking more about that most partners would be focused on building out apps that might meet a need for a broad audience, but you talked about how it might make a lot of sense right now to custom build a one-off last mile solution for, like, in other words, maybe if you're talking with a customer and you're looking to close a deal, that you might actually use a one-off solution for that. Is that the case?
Yes, actually, if you look into this by design, it's targeted for small and medium business. When you look into this Southeast Asian market, they are not mostly the process oriented, that they have this ad hoc requirements. Each and every business, even though they are in the same vertical, it differs from partner customer to customer. So in that case, to close a deal, if a partner needs to get a deal done, then they need to go for a custom development for that particular customer. So that's where actually SAP can reach to the customers. We can grow in volume. So we need the one-off solution is the very important at this point of time.
And you think it's actually viable in terms of resources to build a one-off solution? It's not a situation where it takes too many resources to do it to make it worthwhile?
Whether it is a one-off solution or a scalable solution, technically, it just technically makes a difference in the setup. But ideally, with SAP support, it's always possible to convert an add-on, of course, with the confirmation with the customers. The one-off can also be made it as a generic add-on scalable solution. So from the resource point of view and the time spent point of view, it's going to be one and the same. There is no much difference between the one-off solution. An added advantage here with the one-off solution is the partner himself can deploy the one-off solution into the customer landscape without help of SAP. And more than one-off solution can reside on a same customer landscape. That's an added advantage.
Now, is the SDK robust enough yet to build an in-depth industry solution, or is it better to look at slightly simpler functionality right now?
SDK is actually maturing. I would say that yes, industry solution, specific industry solution vertical is possible in SDK, but to be very frank, we have not tried that. But yes, I would say even though it's not robust enough, but it will support starting FP 3.0 and in the future version.
So what kinds of features are you looking ahead to in future releases that aren't there now? I've had one developer mention something about multi-language support to me. Are there a couple of key features you're looking ahead to as we get into releases beyond 3.0 here?
Okay, so I was I had been as a developer for ByDesign SDK Studio, and now I am the consumer side. As a consumer, as a partner, what important feature what I would like to have in SDK is um, the debugging functionality. How we do in ABAP, we don't need and we don't need at that level, but at least the debugging functionality, which is what I'm looking primarily. And second thing we want in SDK to be a web service. It's a web service provider already, and I want the SDK to be a web service consumer. These are all two important features which I am looking in an FP 3.0 version and beyond.
So, in terms of being a web service consumer, does that mean that you would have greater potential to pull in data and functionality from other sources into what you're building? Is that part of why that would be important?
Exactly. Exactly. So when we are looking for any integration scenario with some other third-party applications, then that's where we need, instead of having it in somewhere in the other than the cloud application of this SAP, instead of having a middleware, if SDK itself can act as a web service consumer, then it would be great.
What would be an example of that type of functionality?
Well, maybe you can think of the QuickBooks. So maybe if the QuickBooks is having an API which they can have exposed their services such as web service, from SAP SAP ByDesign, I can pull the data using their APIs, I can push it into ByDesign. Instead of having a separate middleware in between, we can have it in the SAP ByDesign itself. But of course, I won't say that it is not possible. Currently, yes, it is possible, but there are workarounds to achieve it. But if there is a direct integration available from ByDesign, it would be great.
Okay. I think we reached a good stopping point for this shorter version of our interview, so thank you for joining me for that. And now I'd like to continue with a few more questions, but I'll give Dennis Hallett, who will probably edit this, a chance to cut the video here if he wants. So Dennis, you can cut if you want. And continuing on, I wanted to ask you about documentation. Obviously, documentation is a big issue for any new release. And as well, I've heard some questions about ByDesign mobile development documentation. Where do you think we stand with documentation right now for ByDesign?
Well, fine. From the documentation point of view, I would say this ByDesign documentation is fantastic. We have got this end-to-end documentation available which talks about the ByDesign functionality for the ByDesign, and also from SDK point of view, it's a clear and elaborate step-by-step usage document is available for all the components available in SDK. It's there available in they have their tricks available, the knowledge management, it's there.
Okay, and that includes mobile development then?
For the mobile development, yes, it's actually not as a part of an SDK, it's as a part of an ByD functionality itself. For example, using this existing UI, which is built based on this Microsoft Silverlight, it's possible to generate the mobile UIs. So it's a part of it, yes. It's an elaborate documentation that's available for the mobile development as well.
I'm having a computer pop up that I'm trying to ignore here.
Okay.
We had a couple of USB things earlier. I think we're good though, so taping seems to be good. So in terms of the training, how do you feel about the training for the SDK compared to other areas of ByDesign? What kind of training is needed there? Is that something you've done? Have you trained other people in the SDK, and what does that take?
Yes, last year, I think in the month of November, I had been to Palo Alto to train these partners from SAP Labs. I traveled all the way from Bangalore to Palo Alto to train the people. When you look into this training, whoever is at the receiving end, basically they should know the basic functionality, and they should know the basic of what actually a business object means, what actually an analytics report means, what as a business configuration. Very few terms maybe they should get familiarized with. And it is possible to maybe they need to spend a couple of days in understanding that, and if they have a basic technical capabilities of doing any object-oriented program, and if the C#, as I explained already, if they have the C# knowledge, then they are on the track.
So it sounds like what you're saying is that with the appropriate background we discussed, that perhaps a 2-day training would be enough to get someone up to speed on the SDK from there?
Yep, if there is a domain expert and if he can learn something technically for a couple of days and maybe couple of days or a week time, maximum 5 days of time, he can just play around with the SDK, then he can go ahead with developing the solution using SDK.
So do you have any advice for developers who would like to get involved? I know a lot of developers out there who are looking for an entry point into ByDesign and they'd love to think about building an app someday and see it on a mobile store for or an online store for ByDesign. What kind of advice would you have for them?
Okay, advice to the developers, if they are already a by design guys, if they know the functionality, then as I said, they can just go through this SDK documentation. But currently from SAP point of view, this SDK is not rolled out to the public. It's a restricted rollout now happens to very few partners and also not to all other partners. As you know, ERP Logic, one of the partner who are the solution partner in US out of hundreds of partners there. So now it is in a restrictive mode. It's not available for everyone to try it out. So when it is available, then they can go for it and they can get trained on the SDK. But before that, they should get into this by design functionality in the architecture. That what is the base for the SDK knowledge.
So for now, make yourself familiar with the product as a whole, and then when the partner channel opens up more and there's more opportunities, then you'll be able to get more of the hands-on in the SDK.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, I want to ask you, this is the tricky part of the interview for you, because I know you can't disclose your ERP Logic master plan for what you're going to do completely, but in broad terms, can you tell us what ERP Logic is trying to do with the SDK, what your dreams and hopes are?
Well, you're right. Okay, from ERP Logic, first of all, we are trying to identify the functional gaps in ByDesign. And we are trying to find the functional gaps and try to develop an add-on solution for that. It's not an one-off, but add-on solution. But other than that, we have also got a lot of requirement from the customers for the one-off solution. So we are in the analyzing stage now. We are looking into it, but it's wide open. We can start anything from mashups till this industry vertical we can go. But as of now, this is what I can tell you.
Okay, fair enough. So we have the Tech Ed season coming up here. Are you going to be doing anything at the Tech Ed Bangalore regarding the SDK?
Nothing as of now planned from the SDK point of view, from the Tech Ed Bangalore point of view. Maybe if there are any requirement, I will keep in touch with the SAP guys here in India. If they want, I can just go ahead and present something, because we already started using the SDK as a partner now in India and also in US. So if there is any chance, I will do it. I love to do it.
But you will be at Bangalore for those who are going to be there, right?
Yep, I'll be there.
All right, well, this message goes out to SAP then. I think you should get Vijayan with an SDK session in Bangalore.
Sure.
I would love to see that. Now, as far as SAP is concerned, do you have any advice for SAP in terms of what they should do next with the SDK to get partners and developers even more engaged? Because I know there's a lot of folks that are still a little confused about what they can do with this.
Well, to be very frank, I would say that for next couple of releases, SAP should continue this restrictive mode of SDK, because SDK needs to mature more. As you said, it should be robust enough to handle this add-on solution and also one-off solution and also this industry vertical. So till then, they should go in this restrictive mode. When SDK is robust enough to handle anything, then they should go in this expansion mode and reach out to more partners.
Okay, well, I think that's a good take for now, and I think once you have put a couple of apps together that are commercially available, we might have you on again to talk about that process and where you've come with it. But for now, that's a little bit under wraps, so we'll maybe pick this up at a later point then.
Good. Yeah, definitely. So maybe later part of this year after the Tech Ed, maybe November or December, again we'll have a call with you. Sure.
Well, best of luck with the ERP Logic team then. Thanks for taking the time today.
Yep. Thanks a lot, John. Thanks for this opportunity. Looking forward to you. Yeah.
I enjoyed it.